apparently his son told like life in Australia is so hard because he has to wash his own clothes and
work.
cook his own dishes.
Tragedy.
And then, yeah, oh my God. Like how awful to having to wash your own plate. Yeah, have to have these simple basic human life skills. What tragedy. All I'm saying is don't shame women for wanting to stay home and raise the kids. And also appreciate the woman who's doing both.
Yeah.
Appreciate the woman who's also wanting to, progress, have a career and also have a family.
Yeah,
appreciate and support her.
Yeah,
and do the same. So he was saying his cousins or whoever was living abroad and yes, they're earning this much money. But, for an emergency, they just don't have 20 lakhs. And I'm like, what kind of emergency is that?
Respecting the traditional custodians, we acknowledge the Turrbal and Kaurna peoples as the original inhabitants of the lands now known as Brisbane and Adelaide. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and recognise their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brown Girls Down Under. I'm Dashani, joining from South Australia, and I've got Shanali from Brisbane.
Hi Dash, hi everyone. How are you, Dash? How have you been?
I'm good, yeah, good. Can you believe it's the 25th episode? I feel like we say this every time. Say this on every episode. It's like,
yeah, but it is actually kind of a shock.
Yeah.
So
quarter century.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, look at that. Look at us go. Amazing.
I mean, we're halfway through, or a little over halfway through the year now. But we only started in February or so, I think. But yeah.
Yeah.
Can you feel? I
impressive.
feel like this year is probably the fastest it's gone. Like, I feel like. I don't know. I felt like it's gone really fast
so fast. It's crazy.
So
I don't know. Something is up in
I don't know how to
like
feel
the
about
planets. I feel like it's definitely going faster.
yeah.
Yeah, and everyone keeps saying that. So yeah.
Yeah,
And
I don't know
it's
how
like almost Christmas. Well, not really, but sort of almost. You know.
Yeah. It is. I mean, look, it's August now almost.
Yeah.
So it's closer to Christmas now than
true.
you know.
Which I'm so excited about. Like,
Oh.
I've got a student who loves to listen to Christmas carols, so
Oh, okay.
he keeps listening already to Christmas carols, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so ready for Christmas. I can't wait. So.
When do you officially start? Do you do like a lot of decorations for Christmas?
Well, to be honest, like now I've lived here in Australia for 9 years, and we only had a Christmas tree last year for the first time ever.
Right.
Because we've always like lived in share houses.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
And then like when we got our own place, apartment, we were just like not feeling very Christmassy. We were working right throughout. So we didn't really have anything. But last year, like when we moved into our current house, I was like, it's time. It's time for a Christmas tree. And I went all out and I was so excited about this Christmas tree. Like I would just stare at it, like put all the lights off and just stare at it.
When do you normally start decorating? Do you feel like...
Well, since it was only my first year last year. So actually back home, my mum would only put up the Christmas tree on like the 23rd night or the 24th night.
Oh, okay.
She was like super late. She kept it super late because we would always have a fresh tree, like not the plastic trees. My mum was very big on the fresh trees, which I love. Like the smell of the Christmas tree. Oh,
Where do you get it from?
you can get it in Sri Lanka, like just on the roadside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As in, do people grow trees? Christmas trees?
Probably, I'm guessing. I mean, they don't
I'm
look.
sure they do.
They don't look like traditional Christmas trees in Sri Lanka. Like it used to literally
Okay.
be like a ball shape. It's not
Yeah.
like the nice, the triangle
okay.
ones. So those you
Okay.
can get here, but I know it's a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just get a plastic one now. But I think like 1st of December or last week of November is when I will like fully get into it. So.
Because some people,
excited.
some people are too excited. I had a friend that worked with me when I was working in hospitality, but she would start putting out like her decorations I think probably the end of October or like start of November. She's just, but she would like throughout October, like 1st of October, she would start wearing Christmas earrings and stuff like that. She just can't keep it in. She's too excited. Mind you, this person, she's like, I don't know, maybe 65 or something.
Really? Oh,
and she
that's
had
so
rainbow.
cute.
Yeah, she is the best. She has she has the most energy I've ever seen for a 65-year-old. And she had rainbow colored hair. Which
love
was
it.
like, she was so popular among the kids' parties and stuff. They love her. And she's just got so much energy and I don't know, happiness inside her. I guess. But I love her. Like I'm not I don't obviously celebrate Christmas. Like, do you also go to like the Christmas what do you call it? The church and stuff? Yeah.
Well, I used to back home, obviously, but here I think I've gone for Christmas mass once or maybe twice, and that also because my mom was forcing me to go. So like, still, she's all the time. She's like, "Are you going for mass? Are you going?" I'm like, "No." I will drive by a church and I will say hello and I will go.
Yeah. Is it very different from like? Is there a big difference from Sri Lankan mass?
I think Sri Lankan masses were longer, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot longer. But also I feel like Sri Lankan masses, I don't know, for me, were nicer because like the church that I went to back home, I've been going since I was like an infant.
Yeah, right.
So I know everyone there. I used to read in church, and my mom's in the choir. So we were such a big part of it, right? So we knew everyone, and then like we used to go for midnight mass and we used to wish everyone, and like it was so nice. So that feeling I couldn't really get here anyway. So it was.
You feel a bit
really
distant.
nice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I mean, Christmas in Adelaide's quite big. It's like it's the city of churches, right? So you have so many churches,
gosh, true.
And you have every year they do like a massive Christmas tree in the middle of the city. So you have a lot of people coming to see it. But I've never actually had a Christmas tree. We've just been we've always been either working or at uni or like doing stuff anyway. But I feel like maybe I was thinking maybe this year's the year, but now that we have Zoe, I'm just like, maybe not.
You'll have to make
we'll
it
see.
like the bottom part just empty and like, you know, something that starts from the middle so that she can't reach up.
But she jumps though. So I don't know. She likes things that make sounds. So if
she's gonna have a total Christmas with your Christmas tree.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So but maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go. If she, I mean, it's highly unlikely if she, by
Settles
December,
down.
if she becomes a more calmer cat, maybe.
How's life been with her?
It's been, well, look, I've been away last week. It's just, but what I've noticed is though, like last Monday, Tuesday, I just couldn't, like, I didn't think I would miss this cat as much as I missed her last week. Like
cute.
Every morning, I don't think, so I think in our previous podcast, I've mentioned that I don't usually, once I'm on site, like MJ and I, we don't usually call each other that much. But I've been calling him multiple times a day last week. Or even at work, I would like FaceTime him. I was like, show me the cat. And I was like, I kid you not, if I take a screenshot of like a conversation, like our text message, it's like, are you home? Where's Zoe? Show me Zoe.
Has she been fed?
She has been fed. But I feel like I've been just like FaceTiming her, like FaceTiming MJ multiple times a day. Even after coming back to my room, I would call them like before I take a shower and then after I take a shower. And then I would like find myself looking at her photos and I'm like, oh, damn it.
Cute. I mean, MJ, does he feel offended that you're calling him more now because of the cat?
Probably not. And look, I think he's just too occupied to even care because he's he's constantly taking photos of Zoe and sending me the photos as well. But I don't know. But I mean, look, to be honest, like we obviously care about her a lot, but she couldn't give two shits about it. She's like,
That's cats
excuse
for
me,
you.
ma'am, leave me alone.
Excuse
Yeah.
me, slave. I only need
Yeah.
you for food.
But look, she's I feel like she's like quite understood. Like she's getting more and more comfortable in the house now. Like, but she kind of wants to be. She's a bit clingier than we thought a cat would be. But I don't know.
Right.
Maybe that's because she's a kitten.
She's a baby. Yeah.
So she goes everywhere. Like she follows me everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Like even if you go to the bathroom, she would just
She would
follow
follow.
you and she's like explore
Oh,
stuff,
cute.
which is nice. But then it's just that she's so fluffy and tiny. I just want to just hug her and kiss her and just I
Yeah.
don't know, just mush her, which she doesn't like.
Doesn't like, yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
And that's why I think she hates me. She doesn't hate me, but she just prefers MJ.
No, but now you're gonna be moving home for like a longer period of time,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that'll be good.
So, yeah, so this last Thursday when I came home, I told MJ, like, you stay outside of the house. I'll go in and see if she's going to be excited to see me. So I went inside the house. She was sleeping in her little hammock. And then she saw me and she got, I don't know if she recognized me. She came running and then she ran past me, clearly like expecting to see someone else.
the rejection.
Yeah, I'm like, "Ah." But then she turned around and then she was like, started sniffing and then she started meowing and then
okay.
rubbing herself on me. But then when MJ came later on, she was like, oh my God, the usual human. Welcome.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. And also, did you know, I just found out this week what it was. Did you know what catnip was?
Cat what?
It's like a catnip.
I've heard it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's like a herb which apparently makes I don't know if it usually works the same way it's like it says, but apparently this plant or herb or whatever, when some cats eat it, it makes them hyperactive. Usually I think they make them sexually active or like
Okay.
I don't know how to call that, or sexually awake or whatever. But a lot of the cats now are like, desexed.
Desexed,
So
yeah.
they don't do that. But now what they do is like it makes them less, well, for some cats it makes them aggressive. But apparently for some cats it makes them more affectionate or more awake or lively or energetic, which we didn't know. And apparently like the week before we went to Pet Barn and we wanted some dental treats for her. And there was a brand called Greenies and the only flavor they had was catnip. So we didn't know what catnip was, and she's like, it's obviously there and it was on sale as well, so we got it. And then we've just been feeding it to her like every time she does like behave, because every time we want to wipe her face or something, so we keep giving her these treats which we didn't know what catnip was. She gets so hyperactive after every treat. She keeps running around the house, which we didn't know it was because of catnip. This
So is it like cat weed or something?
I think so. Literally, I think it's just cat weed.
Wow.
But I think this particular trait is like a very low. It has a very low dose or something in it. But she's a kitten.
Oh, true.
So apparently people use a lot of catnip when they're in like circuses and stuff, when they want to like in high dosages for like tigers and like all these
Really?
animals, when you
Wow.
want to make them
Do stuff,
a bit
yeah.
apparently.
Wow,
But, which
I
is not
never
nice.
knew.
Yeah.
No, not.
So yeah.
And how is I don't know? How is that legal? That's what I'm thinking. Like if it affects.
It's not, but I don't know. But I told MJ about this, and MJ felt like obviously he was heartbroken. It's like, how could we do this to Zoe? And now he researches every little ingredient
That
before
goes
we
in
give it to Zoe. I mean, we still have them. So we're like, if we have obviously it's not that bad, but we're like, maybe once a month, we'll just give one to Zoe.
Yeah, I mean, if she's already hyperactive, then you don't need
that's
any
right.
more encouragement.
Yeah. But I'm just been saying like, oh my God, like now that you told me, like I can remember every time I give her that treat, her eyes becomes like almost like a full, like 2 tennis balls, and then she keeps running around, hyperactive, which I think she's enjoying herself, but obviously, but apparently cats can also get addicted to it, so which is obviously not good.
You're creating a drug addict.
I don't know, maybe, yeah. So every time we open the cupboard that has the treats, she keeps running. She knows the sound of she knows where the treats are.
Wow.
But yeah, she's too smart for her own good.
Yeah, sounds like it. Oh.
Yeah, but no, it's been really good, but I'm trying to make her. Obviously, MJ is like extra nice to her, and like already she's like used to MJ, so she prefers MJ over me. But it's just that MJ doesn't pet her that much. MJ just let her be, and she just always go to him. Whereas me, I just want to hug her and play with her. And I'm honestly the bad cop because I'm the one who clips her nails. I'm the one who like wipes. Oh, hello. I'm the one who wipes her all the time, which she doesn't like.
Yeah, I can see her tail.
So I do all the bad things to her.
Yeah.
And MJ just gives her treats.
Gives her treats and feeds her.
And fruits. So I'm the bad cop.
Typical men.
I know. How dare they?
Getting all the credit.
Yeah. But that has been my week. How's your week
What
been?
an interesting week. My week's been like pretty good. I mean, my parents left to Sydney on Wednesday, which was very sad. Yeah, I was pretty
They're clearly
sad.
very popular.
They're very popular, definitely. And they're doing so much stuff in Sydney already. But then my poor mom, like, because it's quite cold there, like, she's got, like, muscle aches and stuff. So I think it's all gotten a bit worse because of the cold. Whereas when she was here, it's fine because it's not that cold here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a bit worried about that. But, yeah, they've been doing really fun stuff there. I've just been working, honestly, nothing really exciting. I'm going to Sydney next weekend, so we have to plan our recording around that and see what we're going to do.
So when are you guys coming out Adelaide? I'm sure Ryan's down because you got Zoe.
Oh, he will. But dude, tickets are so expensive, man.
I know.
It's like I can go like to New Zealand or something with that price. It's like
It's
so
ridiculous.
expensive on just Jetstar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I heard that apparently from Roxby Downs, where the site is, from Roxby Downs to Adelaide, the trip is about $180, which is inside the same
it's the
state.
same state, yeah.
Which is crazy. It's a 1.5 hour flight.
Yeah.
No, it's a 45-minute flight.
Wow.
Really. And so the round trip is over $300, which is crazy. But I think that's also because you can hardly find seats because
Okay.
because you people are traveling there for work. But people who are residential there, if they wanted to come to Adelaide, I mean, they can drive for 6 hours or take a flight for 45
I mean, I guess
minutes.
it's the same here. Like from Brisbane to Cairns, it'll probably be about the same. And it's
Really?
within the same state.
How long's the drive from Brisbane to Cairns?
It is a bit of a drive if you were to drive. I'm not sure how much, but we couldn't do it.
Is Townsville more closer to Brisbane than Cairns or closer to
I
Cairns?
think Townsville is closer. I think Cairns is like further at the top. Yeah, Cairns is nicer though.
So Townsville also have like few islands that you can go to. Is that right?
I don't know too much about it. I have no idea.
I mean, look, I don't know much about Adelaide either. I mean, there's so many places to explore.
I know. I feel like Australia is like this big place with so many different countries. I mean,
I know.
Like
Yeah.
they have different like governing bodies and like, you know, registrations. Like if I wanted to go teach in another state, I have to get registered there. And like it's such
Oh,
a big
yeah.
process. It's so inconvenient, you know. So it
Yeah.
actually feels like different countries anyway.
Like even getting your license, some
Yeah.
states are different to others.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a big process.
And I think I found this bizarre because like especially if you're working, like if you're a Sparky, or like especially if you're working on a mine site, like you know, if you're working at height, like at a, you know, larger height, you have to get different licenses. If you're working in a confined space, you have to get and every state has different licenses and different requirements. So obviously you have a lot of people that works for a few months in a WA mine and then come to South Australia to work. So it's just, and they have to do bridging courses to match those the gaps in. It's just crazy. How I just don't understand why all of Australia can have the same.
That's the
you know.
thing. It just makes no sense because it's like you're putting further restrictions on people. Like you already have shortages of skills. Like if you put all these other added things on top of it, it's making it even harder for people to even want to do it, you know. Like my dream, ideally, I would love to just like travel around Australia, like do it once in my life and then just casual teach in every state, like just to keep expenses, to pay off
Oh my God,
expenses.
let's do it together.
I would,
Well, I can't teach.
You can't.
But
But I would love to. But the thing is, that means I have to get registered in every single state,
true.
you know, which is so inconvenient.
Yeah.
And it's so expensive as well. So it is
Yeah.
another added thing.
Hopefully we'll just work for 10 years and then take like a full year off and then travel
Would love to
around
do
Australia, just doing some casual work maybe.
that. Working in hospital
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. I wonder how long it takes to travel around Australia.
I guess
Obviously,
it depends
when you
on
say
what you do.
what route you take. Obviously, if you're going around the coastal line, it'll take ages, maybe.
Yeah.
But nice, maybe one day.
Something to add to our
But
bucket list.
Yeah, but I also want to do it while I'm still like I don't want to do it when I'm like 60, like people do.
Because
here.
people, yeah, exactly. People do it. They retire
Yeah.
and then they do it. But then I guess what you do then is limited to
that's what
your
I'm saying.
body's
Yeah.
capabilities.
Yeah. Yeah. How about, Shanali, we'll make a deal. You meet us halfway. You just drive to Mount Gambier, which is in South Australia.
How is that halfway?
Okay,
not
or
fair.
you drive to Sydney or
Okay.
New South Wales. Somewhere New South Wales probably be halfway maybe.
Yeah.
Or let's just both go to Melbourne.
Melbourne's too close to you. Yeah, maybe
I
like
think Sydney probably.
maybe like the border of Sydney and Melbourne.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're on.
Yeah, right. Okay. So that was the week. We had very eventful weeks,
Very
as
eventful,
always.
yes.
But I think you have also seen this. So I saw this clip on social media, which I thought was very interesting, which I thought we can talk about today. And you've, when we discussed, you have also seen
I have
this
seen
clip.
it briefly, yes.
And we have had the same thoughts.
Of course we
Like
had the same
always.
thoughts. Great minds, great minds.
Yeah. But then look, I saw this clip long time ago, but I don't remember who this person was, or I haven't obviously seen the whole. It was a podcast. I think it was a show or some sort of podcast, that like a Sri Lankan podcast.
Yeah.
And they were talking about migration. And
I think
like
it's
a lot
like
of
an interview kind of thing,
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, as we know, like a lot of people, like in Sri Lanka, is now migrating to other countries, and I also did look at some statistics as well.
Oh, stats gal.
That's right. Apparently, in like 2022, 300,000 people have migrated with secure jobs. Obviously, the total number of people who migrated is a lot more than that, but 300,000 people migrated with like secured like a job offer, which is crazy. And then last year, apparently 900,000 passports were issued for Sri Lanka. 900,000. That's 1 mil almost. That is crazy. Which I was like looking into these and then the demographics of Sri Lanka, which I found something very interesting, which I didn't, obviously maybe this is the case, but I just didn't think it was. And apparently 23 something % of the Sri Lankan population is between the age 0 and 14.
Oh, really? Okay.
23%. That's a big amount. Hey.
Yeah.
I think there's data from 2021, so maybe it's like changed now.
I would have thought it was like the older population would be more.
People, so 23% is between 0 to 14. Over 41% is from 25 to 56.
Okay.
And then I think like the 10%, around the 10% mark is like over 65.
Oh, okay.
Which is like a good curve, I think. You have like a good age range of like the work, like good amount of people in the working range, which is good.
Yeah.
But that is the standard demographic of Sri Lanka, and obviously I couldn't find, I really wanted to find the demographic of people migrating. Which you would think like a lot of the people, if they're moving away for working purposes, is between that 40, in the 25 to 56 range, and in the 41%.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal, right? Because you're losing a lot of talent, and also if the students are moving, you're losing a lot of, you know, the knowledge, skill,
brain drain,
the future skill.
Yeah.
Which is a big problem.
Yeah.
So in this particular interview. They were talking about how previously, obviously now people are migrating for different reasons. But before, people were migrating for different reasons than people that are migrating now. And then he used to talk, and this particular person, I don't know who this person is, and I don't think you know either.
we are so like, we just gather little bits of information. And like
no
just,
context whatsoever.
And then trying to tell this story to someone else, you're like, I don't know who that is.
But it's so funny how when I started telling you this story, you knew exactly what clip this was.
So we should probably explain it a bit more, because like we are both going off in laughing fits.
So anyway, this clip is an
He's like a middle-aged man, right?
He's a middle-aged man. There's someone is interviewing this middle-aged man. Obviously, I don't know who that is. I don't know his name. I can't even remember now what he looks like. But he's clearly a bit of, I don't know, maybe he's like very well educated. Like, I apologize in advance. But we just don't necessarily agree with your opinions. Everyone's entitled to have your opinions. We just don't agree with it. He's probably like a businessman or a lecturer or
something.
I don't know, whoever. He's clearly well off. He's not the lower class person who's struggling to put food on the table. He's not that kind of person. So he was talking about how, you know, life abroad is like so much more glamorized, or people think it's like glamorous, and you know, people are living like such lavish lives, which maybe some people are, okay, but that's the thing though, someone's idea of a glamorous life is like, that can also change. For some people, it's just coming home to a peaceful home, having food on the table, and you know, being able to do whatever you're passionate about. For some people, it's just, you know, spending lots of money on everything you wanted and you know, everything you like, that is also fine. Because it's, you know, it's everyone's life. They're entitled to do whatever they want. But this particular person was talking about how, you know, people think it is, life abroad is so glamorous, but when it is actually not. People have to work really hard to earn the money, which, I mean, anywhere.
Yeah,
is the case.
It
That's the case
kind
anyway.
of should be the case, right? Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're a Sri Lankan politician or whatever. But
Of course.
and then he's saying, obviously, no matter how much money you earn, you pay a lot of tax and everything's so expensive. You pay your rent, you pay your mortgage, and that takes up a big chunk of your salary, and you're not going to be able to save much, which is true. I mean, we live in Australia. Australia is one of the highest tax paying countries. We pay a lot of tax. But I would also like to highlight, yes, I do pay a lot of tax. It's annoying. But at the same time, we have good roads.
Yeah. We see
drive on.
the taxes working, right? Like we see
Exactly.
the results
We
of
have
the
a
tax.
good standard of living. Like
Yeah.
the standard of living is extremely high.
Yeah.
You like the quality of living
Life,
is also
yeah.
extremely, it's very high. So I think in regards to that, like I would rather actually pay that amount of tax in Sri Lanka if I'm guaranteed to get that kind of
Yeah.
return, quality of life.
Yeah.
You know, so in that sense, I disagree with him. Yes, we don't. But then again, you have to also understand the amount your financial literacy has to do a lot with the amount you save. People have to understand that if you're wanting to be financially free and if you're wanting to save money, you have to live below your means.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that is it.
common
That
sense,
is the
yeah.
gist of it. That's common sense. If you're spending lavishly and you're spending more than you can afford, then yes, of course you're not going to save.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably the reason why you might be able to save a lot more in Sri Lanka, I don't know if people do save a lot more in Sri Lanka now. Probably don't.
True, because I
But
feel
then
like
again-
everyone I've spoken to
Yeah.
has said that it's so hard to save because everything is so
exactly.
expensive and like your salary. I mean, obviously it's the case here as well. Like your salary hasn't grown with the cost of living. But then it's worse in Sri Lanka. Like, and this is like coming from someone who absolutely would tomorrow move to Sri Lanka if I could. Like, I would, I'm not talking shit about my country because I would 100% move there if I could. So
Yes, of
it's
course.
just the reality is that it's not the case. You know, like I had a cousin recently tell me that she got a job and her pay was like 250,000. And I was like, wow, that's so impressive. And she was like, actually, no, it's not. Like, for someone with my age and my experience, so she's closer to 40, someone with my age and my experience, I should be making more. And after, like, we pay for, and the taxes, now, like, the tax system is obviously there, which I think is a good thing. Now, with
If
that,
they get the return,
exactly, if the return on investment is good. But after you pay for everything, it's actually not that much. So the fact that 250,000 rupees a month is not really a big amount is quite shocking to me, because I feel like when I started my first job in Sri Lanka, I made 60,000 a month, and that was like a big deal. Like everyone was like, wow, that's so impressive and everything. And now 60,000 is like nothing.
Can't even survive.
You can't survive. If you've got a family, you can't survive.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of the times, because if you do consider the expenses, the average expenses of a family here and a family in Sri Lanka, yes, of course, there's a disparity. You don't have to pay for childcare. You don't have to pay for nurseries and like you don't have to, because you would have your family to look after your kids.
Yeah.
Which you don't, that is a luxury to have your family, obviously. And then most families, you don't even pay for food. Your parents still would buy food and like, you know, cook for everyone. Which is not the case here, right? So there's obviously different, how do I say it? Different aspects of life. People are in different aspects of life in these two different societies. So it's not actually,
I don't think you can even compare it, to be honest. No.
So, but the most absurd thing this man was saying is how, so he's talking about how some of his cousins or relatives were living abroad. And then this is obviously I feel like the intention of this conversation the intent of his I don't know, where he was going with this conversation was to obviously tell people or let people know that, you know, like you might I feel like he was trying to advise people, maybe you're living a better life than you know, people abroad, which that is fine.
Yeah.
But I think the analysis or like the examples that he chose were like very poor and like not the most accurate.
No.
So he was saying his cousins or whoever was living abroad, and yes, they're earning this much money, but you know, for an emergency they just don't have 20 lakhs. I'm like, what kind of emergency is that? What kind of a person
And who has
an
that,
emergency?
Yeah, who has that in Sri Lanka though? Like,
that's
unless
ridiculous.
you are so he's obviously coming from a very privileged point of view, because you said that he spoke about his son who is living in Australia and doesn't want to settle down in Australia and wants to move back home because,
which is fine.
yeah,
completely
which is
fine.
totally fine. But then, like, what, because I didn't hear this bit, but you said that because his son has to do everything, like all his own chores here.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
He was
is-
saying how, like, obviously back home, back in Sri Lanka, his son was living apparently a very luxurious life. He had his own driver, apparently, and then everything was done for him. But he said the reason apparently his son told, like, life in Australia is so hard because he has to wash his own
Do
clothes
his own
and
work.
cook his own
Oh,
dishes.
the tragedy.
And then, yeah, oh my God. Like, how awful to having
an
to wash
adult.
your own plate. Yeah, have to have these simple basic human life skills. Oh, what tragedy. Like, that was like absurd
It is absurd.
and ridiculous.
I feel like as a father, if your son tells you that, you should be like, you know, I
You're
know,
never coming home.
Yeah, exactly. I know that you feel that sucks, but you need to learn to do this, because in future your maid, you may or may not have a maid to do all that. Your wife is not going to be your mother and like do all these things for you. You need to learn how to do that. So you're staying exactly where you are.
Exactly.
Instead, he's just like,
how are you saying this?
Yeah.
How are these, like, this is a very, if you're trying to convince people in Sri Lanka not to migrate because they're gonna have to wash their own dishes,
clothes,
that is
yeah.
not the good
Yeah.
example. Like,
Yeah.
that is not the reason why people are trying to migrate.
Yeah.
That people are literally trying to migrate because they want to get a better education and not having to look for a job or not having to graduate at like 35 years old
Yeah.
because the universities were closed because of protests and stuff.
Yeah.
Literally, people are trying to have a better life and a
Yeah.
better future, better life for their kids.
and also have a life that is kind of less judged, I think, because
Yeah.
you know, back home, like we
100%.
discussed this before, like when you are in your say 30s and you want to have a career change, it's really hard to go back to uni and start from scratch, whereas
Yes.
here you can be like 60 and still be studying and no one's going to bat an eyelid, you know. So
Exactly.
little things like that are things that really need to change back home, you know, if you
Yeah.
want it to be a better place. So that's the thing.
Culturally, yeah.
Yeah, so like if you want people to stay, to retain all, you know, people in the country, then those things need to be changed, you know, not
Yeah.
these silly things like, oh, you have to go overseas and do your own chores. Like that's the stupidest thing you
Wash
can
your
say.
own clothes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's so dumb. Yeah.
Like, I'm sick of people like in their, I don't know how old this person is, but I've there's been a number of people who is like over 65 or whatever, who's been just complaining about how the younger generation is like all like migrating and we're losing the skill, we're losing the talent, when they should be just grateful for the free education. I mean, look, we are grateful for the free education. It's amazing. But then what good is it if
Yeah.
there's no future for the educated people you are bringing into the society? If there's no opportunities, if there's no growth, then what is the point?
Yeah.
I'm sick of these people. Like, you had the responsibility to put right people in power and you didn't. The people are leaving the country because of the society that you have created.
100%, yeah.
Not you as an individual,
Yeah.
but as a collective, as a
collective, yeah.
society.
Yeah. Yeah.
So part of me really is like rooting for Sri Lankans. Like, part of me is really hoping that we can still make it work. But a part of me is like, how?
I know.
How many tribes have we had so far?
I was literally telling because obviously there's an election coming up, so my dad's like
No.
fully involved in this. And I was just telling him like, and he himself says there's no one who like truly deserves it.
There's
at
no
this
potential
point.
hope.
No. But I was
Yeah.
like, that's why there needs to be a younger party who can take over. But the thing is, knowing how things are there, they're
Yeah.
never going to allow an opportunity for a younger party unless they're like the sons or daughters of those older people, like just fresh brains, fresh educated brains to come up and do something. It's just not gonna happen, like it's just very sad.
And also, even if there was, even for them to implement something, there needs to be a majority vote. And majority of the parliament is like over 70 years old. And they're like, they don't care. They've had their life. They've lavished, and their future generation is also they're
set for life.
Set for life. So they don't honestly care. So that part of me really wants to it really wishes to like till my last breath I would be rooting for Sri Lanka, but
I'm the same. Like that's the thing. Like I feel like we're gonna get a few people commenting like, oh, you're on the other side. But the thing is, we moved. Like I moved almost a decade ago. You moved like what 6-7 years ago. So we moved at a time where Sri Lanka was actually doing pretty well. Like we didn't, have the issues that are going on right now. So it's not like we just.
I wouldn't call it doing well, but it's obviously relatively very good
compared to what it is
situation
now. Exactly. So it's not like we are dissing the country and ran when things were getting bad. We actually moved a long time ago. Because it's funny, when I left Sri Lanka the last time, at the airport, when I gave my passport to the passport officer, he looked at my passport and the visa and he was like, like you're also leaving the country, antimadi thruenne api thamai. So in the end it's just going to be us. And he was like an older gentleman, and then I had to actually explain to him and tell him like, listen, I moved a long time ago. This is not I'm not just like leaving now. And then he looked,
and you feel sad.
He was actually sad. He looked really sad. And he kind of laughed like really sadly, and I was like, I know, it's really sad. And I was like, man, satuteng neme anne. Like, I'm not happy to leave, trust me. Because I was crying. Like, I was at the, while giving him my passport, I was crying. So he knew I wasn't happy. But, it's just one of those things. And like you say, fully rooting for the country. And I will move back home in the bat of an eyelid if I could. But it's just, unfortunately, the reality is, it's not the greatest decision if you were to do that.
And some people, you have to think like, yes, you are living abroad, but doesn't mean that it's easy to live so far away from your friends, your family, your parents, your grandparents. It's never easy. I obviously you don't feel that when you're so close to them all the time. Like I didn't honestly even think about my grandparents when I was in Sri Lanka as much as I think of them now.
No,
I never did. Because that was never an issue. I could always see them if I wanted to. Yeah, exactly. And now I could count the number of times that I'm going to see them for the next 5 to 10 years of my life. I could count the number of times on my hands. That is the number of times that I'm going to see them for the next 5 to 10 years. So which is ridiculous, which is like extremely heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
To know that.
That's the thing. So it's not an easy decision when people decide to migrate. It's not an easy decision or a decision that's taken lightly. It's you consider a lot of things, and like you say, you don't have that family support and background. Like you can't just if you have kids, leave your kids with your parents and go. It's just that doesn't happen. And even I feel like people here, it's very rare, my Australian friends, they don't leave their kids with their parents. It's not a common thing because their parents are probably still working as well. So it's just, we miss out on a lot of that stuff and we just don't take it lightly. So
and imagine how bad things should be in your home country for people to make
give
those
up
decisions.
on that. Yeah, exactly.
So Interesting times.
Yes,
Anyway.
yeah, I just looked at that. But you know what's funny? I read the comments on that post, and a lot of the comments actually agreed with us. Like, no one was really agreeing with what he was saying, and they were kind of just laughing at him because obviously he was coming from a very privileged position, probably has someone in power. Like, I don't know, this is just me assuming. So, something like that. Like, you are very comfortable with your life to even say, like, to use something as minuscule and as petty as, oh, my son has to do his own laundry. That's your biggest problem. Like, that's just the silliest
Ridiculous.
thing. And then you go to the extent of, like, exposing your cousin.
Yeah. Oh, my cousin like earns this much money, but she doesn't have 20 lakhs, 20 grand.
And then he just
what
goes
the hell?
to like explain the relationship. I'm like, dude, you've exposed her enough. Like, he's like, my father's sisters. I was like, you might as well just say her name right now. Just say
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You've just exposed your whole family tree.
Just
People are just gonna know.
Just
who it is.
introduce us to
They're
everyone.
gonna know. They're gonna know their like people are gonna know their salary and that they don't have extra 20 lakhs to spare for an emergency. What that emergency is, I am so keen to know.
Who knows?
I'm so like out of the whole interview, that's my like biggest like concern, or like that's my biggest that's the thing, that number one thing that I want to find out. What's this emergency that's gonna cost you 20 lakhs?
Yeah.
What is it? Unless it's like a surgery or something, then I understand.
Probably something
but
medical.
Even then, that's Anyway, like people have different people have different problems, which is crazy. All right, well, that was an interesting conversation. But speaking of, I guess, interviews or like podcasts.
I think we've been like exposed to like kind of similar content lately. So.
I feel like once you watch something and it's because of the algorithm, you just get all kinds of
algorithms
crap.
like, let's give her more, like trigger her even more.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah, just raise her blood pressure all the way up. But anyway, there was this other clip also from a podcast. This is from a podcast, I know. Well, podcast, interview, they're the same thing in Sri Lanka. So, also, which I thought was atrocious. And I was so riled up, I had to share it with Shanali, and she agrees, obviously. But this was, this one, I'm a little surprised because this particular person is a licensed psychiatrist or a psychologist. Obviously, she knows a lot about how the human brain works, and I feel like, obviously, this is just her personal opinion, which, again, we disagree with. But to come on a public platform and then say such things is a bit... I'm a little disappointed, is what I would say. Yeah. Especially because we are wanting to have like a new generation in Sri Lanka, especially. We are wanting to have a big cultural shift, especially in the way we think, because otherwise we cannot move forward as a society. We need to dump the things that are not working for us. We need to dump the stupid ideologies and honestly think of everyone as equal and and be inclusive and help everyone. That's what we want the younger generation to be. And like to be an adult and spread these kind of opinions is a bit, it's very disappointing, I would say.
So why don't you say what she actually said?
So let me get to it. And so, she was saying how obviously now a lot of women are pursuing careers in fields that they're interested in, and they no longer want to stay home and raise children. They no longer want to be housewives. They also want to be having a very good career, make important decisions, make take a use of their talents and skills and brains. which they've studied hard to get, like degrees they've studied hard to get, which they work really hard for, and they're wanting to go up, like move forward or progress in their careers, and now there's no one to stay at home and raise children apparently, and this is apparently a big problem in Sri Lanka, at least maybe. So she was saying how mothers should teach their daughters that staying home and raising children is equally important, and should be encouraging their daughters to do it a lot more rather than pursuing a career. Now, I have so many problems with this statement.
Yeah. So again, like we'd like to, start off by saying everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Absolutely. But it is kind of, I feel like it's a bit ironic that she's saying that when she's like a very successful,
not home, not with her children,
psychologist on a public platform saying these kind of things, when you are not doing the same thing. So that's a bit ironic. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I must say this, I saw this, I didn't want to see the whole interview after this clip, obviously. I don't know if she's, like, if I've taken this out of context, I do not know if this was, like, a clickbait where they've, clipped certain, but I've seen a few of her interviews, and I think I'm inclined to believe that this is actually her opinion on this.
Yeah.
So... yeah. Yes, I agree. Staying home, raising children is an important task. It's a very fulfilling. It's equally as important, equally or if not more, even important as, studying hard, getting your degree, getting a job that you want, working hard in your job, progressing in your career, so you can and leading teams and mentoring people, educating the younger generation to have a better career, and that is equally as important as staying home and raising children.
And we've said this plenty of times in previous episodes where we've discussed feminism. Yeah,
and I think what I agree with her in that sense, but the key word that she's missing is choice. Everyone is entitled to their own choice. I think both these jobs are equally important and equally admirable as long as it's their choice. And also, yes, staying home and raising children is important. Yes, teach your daughters that, but also teach your sons that. Like, it's okay to stay home, look after your children while your wife goes to work.
Exactly.
It's okay to come home, pick up the work, and, if your wife is, coming home late because she's having a tough day at work, it's okay to come home early, stay with your kids, do the dishes, do the washing, clean the house. It's okay to do that. That does not make you any less of a man.
100%, yeah.
And it's not okay for your wife to work 9 to 5, earn money, come home, do the dishes, take care of the kids while you just sit.
You just do a 9 to 5 and that's it. You know, like your responsibility.
That's not equality.
Yeah, that's not. It's not.
It's okay for a man to work, come home and, do all of this by himself. And it's okay for a woman to do all of that. Yeah. It's not expected of a woman to just do all of this. That's not the case. And you shouldn't be shaming women. All I'm saying is don't shame women for wanting to stay home and, raise the kids. And also appreciate the woman who's doing both. Yeah. Appreciate the woman who's also wanting to, progress, have a career and also have a family. Yeah, appreciate and support her. Yeah, and do the same.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, which was...
And you know what I find really funny, because like if you look at, this is statistics in Australia, but obviously I'm sure it's similar back in Sri Lanka. 55, like women over 55 are the biggest homeless population in Australia, which is really sad because, I'm like, this is what, like I heard this in She's on the Money podcast, where women obviously, you know, raise children, stay home for long periods of time. They miss out on superannuation and work experience, promotions, all that kind of thing. And then when they come to a certain age where their husbands are no longer, you know, want to be with them, or just don't want to make the marriage work, or they've found someone else, or whatever it is, then they just leave, and then the woman has no other option to except to be homeless, because she has nothing to fall back on. So when you say things like this, like, you are kind of showing, you know, oh, girls in Sri Lanka only have this pathway, you know, to be home and raise children. Yes, that's great. But then what happens in the event that maybe her partner decides to end the marriage, or she decides to end the marriage, or the partner dies? Something. Are you providing a safe space or like a fallback option for your daughter to be okay? Yeah, because you probably won't be around then. What's going to happen to her and the kids? Who's going to take care of her then? You know, like, when she's obviously in her like 50s or 60s, it's going to be harder to find a job then if you haven't already worked from when you were younger. So what's going to happen 100%. Then? You have to, the reality is you have to think of those situations, because they are way more realistic than not. So obviously no one wants 100%. No one wants it, but it happens. So then what happens there? Yeah, so...
If anything, you should teach your child to be ready for anything. Sort of scenario in life, any situation that life's gonna put you in, and be like independent.
Yeah.
And also, like, I'm also sick of hearing this. Also, don't like don't feel bad for earning more than your partner.
No.
Don't feel sorry about that.
No.
And I also don't understand why someone needs to feel bad about your wife earning more than you. Like, I don't understand.
I just don't get it.
Honestly. But I also that is the other thing. I feel like a lot of the people who's like feeling so bad about your wife earning more money than you is because you don't consider yourself a unit. You consider you're still, even though you're married, you consider yourself two individuals
and like
when it comes to your financials.
Like, it's just an ego thing. It's just an ego thing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my husband is like, can you just please keep working so I can stay at home? And
can I please be, and 100%, and just like, I'll just be a stay-at-home cat mom.
And then
I'll look after Zoe. He's like, women empowerment. You go, girl, you go and earn the money.
And then on the other side, I'm like, no, you go to work. I'm going to stay home.
Same. I was like, MJ, I'm only going to work for the next 10 years, and then I'm going to be a stay-at-home dog mom or a cat mom, and I will be a florist that loses $5,000 a month.
And I will have an Instagram account about my fur baby.
Yes,
maybe make some money on there.
I will go do yoga every morning, come home, have my coffee. I just don't understand. I'm like, if you want to earn, like, if you're earning more money, yay, more money for us.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
Exactly. So that's the most,
And you should be happy, like, you know, your partner getting promotions, all this, like,
exactly.
That is a win for both of you.
That is you supporting each other. Exactly.
Yeah. It's just,
aren't you? And you should be proud. You know, I'm with a smart ass. I'm with a badass leader or a bad lady. Like, it's something to be proud of, not something to be upset about, you know? Yeah. And I saw like who's the financial guru that's on TikTok or like on YouTube, who's like an older bald guy? I can't remember his name now. Dave Ramsey.
Oh, Dave Ramsey,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the people that called his show was saying apparently she's had a baby. And she was wanting to stay home and look after the baby. But her husband was saying, no, she should go to work. But apparently her husband is earning $900,000 every year. And they are financially fully capable of like making the decision to like having her stay home and look after the child. But her husband apparently doesn't want to. Because her husband still considers his money, not their money. apparently. So these are the kind of stupid problems some people have. I'm like, how do you have these kind of problems and still be married to each other? I don't
Honestly.
understand.
And you've got a child. Like, come on, is that child not yours? Like, do you not see?
It's ridiculous.
Oh.
And I also saw this man. So this lady's just had a baby, and obviously she's chosen to have a C-section or a natural birth because of like a complication or something, and her husband is refusing to pay the bills, that hospitality bill that cost them extra for the C-section because she chose to do it. And he's saying that because it was her decision, she should be the one paying for it.
Oh my God.
I'm like, this has to be scripted. This has to be a joke. Like, what? I just can't.
I'm speechless.
How do you be with the man after that? Like, how do you be with that person after that? How do you continue to have a relationship? How do you continue to parent a child after that?
Honestly. And imagine
it's shocking.
Like your child finding out one day that his or her father didn't want to pay, extra for a little bit, like a decision that the mom made regarding his or her birth. Like, what the hell?
I don't know, man. It was speechless. This is the kind of mentality people have. It's ridiculous. That is why it's so important for boys and girls before they get into relationships
to discuss all
don't
this.
Rush things.
agree.
Discuss the important things, not
So
about
agree.
what did you eat for dinner today? What did you do today? No, talk about how you're going to be doing your financials. Talk about what your future is going to look like, what your future plans are. Talk about that.
So true.
Oh my God.
So true.
This is why, also another reason why, teenage love shouldn't be a thing. I feel like, yes, it should be like, it should be about innocence and all of that, but it's never like the important stuff, like.
And I think that's why, like, as parents, like, brown parents especially, because obviously none of this is discussed with your kids at any point, right? Like,
sure.
Any point. It's always just, find someone that you can just get along with and then just marry that person. That's all it is. And make sure it's within this age range that society doesn't think like you're like a shriveled up prune or something. Like you have to like be a beautiful bride or whatever. Those are the silly, petty, stupid things that they consider important when it's like the rest of you're making this choice for the rest of your life to be with this. But that is huge. That is such a huge decision.
The way brown parents prepare you for married life is learn to cook, learn how to clean the house. Yeah, learn how to, sit properly, learn how to stay quiet. I'm like, in your dreams, woman.
See, this is why, like you said, we are trying to create, like in Sri Lanka, there really needs to be a cultural mindset shift.
Yeah.
And then when silly people like that woman keep saying things like that, it's like, no, like we... Just your opinion. Shh,
no.
Shh. Zip.
Zip it, lady.
Like you should be talking about these things. You should be encouraging parents to have these conversations with their kids so that they can have those conversations with their partners, So
I guess like people have a social responsibility especially in today's age when, social media is so big. When you're like putting out your opinions, just be careful, you have a social responsibility, and there's obviously people that are gonna blindly believe what you say and go into extremes. Like, I know it's not your responsibility, and yes, at the end of the day it's your personal opinion, it's how you like to do things, but just be a little careful.
Yeah, and you also kind of have to think about the long-term effects of those, like the things you say. It's not just something you say and then it's just forgotten. Like those, like once you put it out into social media or to the world, it's there forever. And then you need to think about how people will perceive it. So I don't know if you've actually seen, like in Australia at the moment, there's like this big campaign going from the government, like the Australian government is promoting it, encouraging parents, because there's so much like toxic toxic men having podcasts and talking really toxic ideologies and things like that, and promoting all these stupid things, like you obviously know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So there's all these things from the government encouraging parents to have deep and meaningful conversations with your children about things that they listen to and the message that they get from it, because those can because like the ad basically shows this little boy listening to this podcast where the guy says women like to be led, they like when you tell them what to do and that kind of thing. And the ad basically says those kind of ideologies lead to domestic violence. So you need to have 100%. Those conversations, those hard conversations with your children to tell them, because obviously they have very, young minds that are easily prone to just listen to everything.
Yeah, so easily influenced.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. But those are the kind of conversations, and I think as brown parents as well, you have such a big responsibility. Those things, yes, but also the other cultural things that you came with, like from your childhood, to put an end to those things and grow with the rest of the world. Keep moving 100%. Forward. Yeah, so
that was an interesting
I like session. That we came into this conversation, we're like, to this podcast, we're like, what are we talking about today?
I was like, oh my God, did you see this? And it's like, oh, I know what you mean, girl.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
I mean, we only need one clip to make a podcast out of it.
To go on a tangent,
keep sending
right?
us, keep sending us more infuriating content.
Yes, actually, that's a really good idea. Like, if you see things like this, like, send it to us. We are more than happy to discuss.
Yeah, we'll dissect and dig deep.
Yes, absolutely. We should do it'll be good to have like a live reaction. So like play it.
Ooh,
just to say, I'm sure the two of us will be like,
oh my God,
rolling our eyes.
Get this out of my face. Yeah. Get this out of my face.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Fun. But anyway, well, at least they're a good laugh. But
true. Anyway,
I
think it's time to end.
I really hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and let us know your thoughts and share more interesting videos if you've come across any. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast, and hope you guys stay safe, take care of yourself, and have a good week ahead.
Yeah, we'll see you in a week.
Yeah, cool. See you in the 26th episode.
Woohoo! Bye!
See you guys. See ya.